I don't sweat the small stuff. Things that used to, stress me out for days, forget about by the time dinner's done. I've had clients scream at me, curse at me. I don't care. I'll just listen to them, and I just maintain integrity and tell the truth. And, I can walk away at the end of the day and be like, okay, that was done. See, that might be considered badass, but that is an ordinary day.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome back to the Ordinary to Badass podcast, the show where ordinary women do extraordinary things and where we celebrate the gritty, real life resilience that it takes to lead, to rise, and to stay in the arena. And friend, today's guest, she brings the kind of quiet power that women in predominantly male industries will feel in their bones. I am so excited for you to hear from her. So Lisa Roberts, she's mastered the art of staying calm, staying cool under pressure in rooms where everyone else is losing their cool. Think senior executives yelling, tempers flaring, deals going every which way, but mostly sideways. And Lisa holding the entire room together with nothing more than her integrity and her presence. But before we dive into her story and her lessons, let's kick off the segment. You know, what's ordinary and what's badass this week? What felt ordinary? This week felt like the grind. Work, work, more work. Repeat. So between my day job, ordinary to badass, the business side of things, the content, the interviews, all the things, the behind the scenes, it was a whole lot of head down, get it done energy. Nothing too glamorous, nothing too sparky or sparkly, just ordinary. Like where you're working hard, sweating, getting it done. You're not glowing, you're just doing the thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy. I'm just saying, like, you gotta, sometimes there's a period to like put your head down, do the work, get it done. And that's very much been the season that I'm in. What felt badass this week? So something unexpected happened. Don't laugh at me. I actually talked to people in my Instagram DMs. And to my surprise, I'm freaking loving it. So hearing about the work you're doing, the promotions you're going for, how you're doing in leadership, setting boundaries, all of the things, it makes me so happy. I love how you're advocating for yourself. And I don't know, it's just made me like ridiculously happy hearing from you and hearing how your journeys are going. So this is the plug. Hit me up on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass. DM me. Let me know what's going on in your work life. You can let me know what's going on in your life too, but I just love hearing from you guys. And here's the funny thing. I know they call it social media, and I haven't exactly been social. That's the introvert side of me. And so connecting with you guys, it's reminding me why I'm doing this. It's reminding me how good it is and that I don't have to be extroverted and super social to enjoy connecting with you guys and hearing about your journeys. And you know why this matters to me? Because women supporting women, that's the most badass thing on the planet. Not all of us get that. And I had somebody tell me this week that, like, it's hard. It's hard being the only woman leader. And I get it. I'm in an agency of almost 700 people in the law enforcement side, and it's stinking hard. Like, I'm the only female lieutenant. That's about to change, which I'm excited about. But I'm the only female lieutenant. So constantly being the only woman in the room, it's like, come on, something's got to give. So I'm pumped to see things change. And I love when women are supporting other women, bringing other women along, wanting them to rise, wanting to help them. So that makes me super happy. Okay, let me tell you about today's guest, Lisa Roberts. She's a technology project leader with more than 2 decades of experience. And you know what? She's been navigating some of the most male-dominated industries around, and I really hate saying male-dominated. I don't know, it drives me nuts. I just don't know another way to say that. She's been navigating some of the most predominantly male industries around. It just sounds funny that way, but I do say predominantly male industries because male dominated. Drives me bonkers because you're dominating too. Okay, anyway, I'll get off my hill. Different day. So Lisa, she started her career in the 90s and she started building websites before anyone really knew how to build websites, which is pretty badass. And she presented to rooms full of men who were in the US Air Force Reserve. She led Salesforce implementations for manufacturing companies. And she stayed centered in environments where most people would crumble under pressure. After taking a 7-year break from the workforce to raise her kids, followed by a divorce, that forced her to rebuild her career from scratch. But you know what? She returned stronger than ever, and I love it. Today, she leads a technology project, coaches project managers, and mentors women who are stepping back into the workforce after time away. Her story, it's badass. It's relatable. And you know what? It's going to give you the confidence boost that you didn't even know you needed. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm so glad you're here. Today's guest is Lisa Roberts. Lisa, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Really nice to meet you.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
I'd say a little bit of both. I'm a very authentic person. So in that way, I think of myself as ordinary because I get along with most people and, not easily intimidated. But I would say coworkers and people who have worked with me might say I'm more of a badass because, I don't let people walk all over me. I'm very direct in the way that I speak and in the way that I lead. So I would say a little bit of both.
Do you think that flows from like day to day? Like some days you feel ordinary, some days you feel badass, or is it stay pretty consistent for you?
Definitely it changes on a day-to-day basis depending on who I'm talking to. I have many different types of clients. So I could spend my morning with like an easy, nice to talk to client. And then a half an hour later, I'm talking to a very difficult negotiator, somebody who's trying to, I wouldn't say gaslight us, but, trying to turn things around. And I have to adapt my style, very quickly, depending on what's happening and who I'm talking to at any moment.
Has age helped at all with feeling a badass or feeling more badass? And I say that because I know the older I've gotten, the more confident I've gotten and the more badass I feel compared to my younger years where I never would have called myself that.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like with age, I just, I don't sweat the small stuff. Things that used to, stress me out for days, I, forget about by the time dinner's done. I've had clients scream at me, curse at me. I don't care. I'll just listen to them and I just maintain integrity and tell the truth. And, I can walk away at the end of the day and be like, okay, that was done. See, that might be considered badass, but that is an ordinary day.
Okay, I can't wait to dig in to hear more. First, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I started my career, I'd say out of college in the late 90s. And it was the technological boom, right? The internet boom. I started working in an advertising agency and so we were doing print advertising, we were doing brochures. And suddenly all of our clients are like, we need a website. Can you do that? And we're like, yeah, we can do that. And, next thing you know, we're making websites. No one knew how to make websites, but we're experts because we're doing it, right? And that led to my career going from advertising into managing technology projects, which was and still is a male-dominated industry, although there's a lot more women now than there used to be, back in the 90s and 00s and the 10s. Um, I went from working doing websites for career it was recruitment websites. One of my clients was the United States Air Force Reserve, for example. We did their recruitment websites in the early 2000s. That was a very male-dominated room full of men in uniform that I had to present to in my late 20s. And then now I work with a lot of manufacturing companies. I do more back end. I do Salesforce implementations. And we're working with manufacturing companies optimizing their business using Salesforce and other technology tools to optimize their business processes.
So, what was that like? Was there a learning curve for you when you started working with a lot of men?
There definitely was. I'd say it's a lot of my coworkers have been women. I've been fortunate that way. I've had a mix. I would say it's like a very sort of maybe half and half, male and female coworker wise. But my clients have always tended to be in very male dominated areas, like in manufacturing companies. I work with a client that makes like nuts and bolts in Texas. I work with a client who like lays cement in the state of New Jersey. They're very male dominated industries, and I'm dealing with like SVPs, CFOs, CTOs, um, and they're all, they when they're talking to a woman, I think they think they can talk over you, and they can't, and you have to, as a woman, there's a fine balance of becoming assertive, right? And holding your ground. I've had some amazing mentors in my life who I've learned from on how to do that. And I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better and better at it. Mm. I can give you an example of like a client one time very upset with us, yelling like, "We never want to work with you again." You know, by the end of it, we hadn't really done anything wrong. It was them changing their mind 20 times and it caused, an increase in cost and they wanted to blame us. And I was like, well, the whole room was silent. It was like 15 people, maybe 12 men, two women. I was one of them. And he's yelling at me, right? And I'm like, well, do you not want to work with us ever again? Meaning right now or like when the project is over? And he's like, I mean, when the project is over. I'm like, okay, so let's find a way to work together for right now. And it took everything down a notch. And, it was just like no one would speak up and finally I'm like, well, I'm going to say something. So awkward moment. But yeah, there's been a lot of, I forget what the question was at this point in time. And I feel like I'm rambling, but yeah,
Yeah, so it sounded like you just kinda asked the clarifying question and maybe you didn't amplify it to the anger that he was at, or you didn't take
right.
it personal, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't ever amplify anger. Like my goal as a leader is to de-escalate when it gets to that level because nothing productive is going to happen if people are yelling at each other. And I've even been on meetings where I've said that, like, maybe we need to take a step back and regroup when we're all in a better frame of mind
Yeah,
because, we're going to have a more productive conversation that way.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna ask you, and maybe that's your tip is, like, you said that they think a lot of times there's guys that think they can talk over you and you can't, or they can't, and you've kinda learned how to deal with that. Do you have a specific tip that has helped you or something somebody has taught you that has helped you? And maybe part of that is just the calming down, like you said, or de-escalating.
Right. I think listening to what they're saying word wise versus the tone of their voice, um, because they might be expressing frustration in a loud way or what comes across as hostile. But if you can actually try to distill what they're upset about, then you can turn the conversation into something productive. And sometimes I'll even ask that directly. I'm like, what do you hope to get out of this conversation? Because I'm not really clear on, what your goal is for this conversation. That will usually stop them in their tracks. And they'll be like, what I hope to get out of this is, some free hours from your company. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what you really want. Or what I hope to get out of this is we don't, a end date in mind. I want a clear, defined date that this is going to be finished. I'm like, okay, now I have a question, a problem that I can solve. And you can make the conversation a lot more productive. It's very effective to say that, just to stop them. But what do you hope to get out of this conversation? What is your goal?
So, you've mentioned that you're very authentic and down to earth, that kind of thing. Sometimes I think there's a struggle for women in predominantly male industries because they want to be authentic and they want to be themselves, but yet if you're communicating with a bunch of men or men clients, that's who you're going to sell to, right? So you might have to change your language a little bit to be able to sell. Have you found that at all?
I have, but in a different way, adjusting your communication style to be effective in getting what you want. That is authentic, right? I'm like, I have a desired goal from a conversation with somebody as well. So if I know that I'm talking to somebody who speaks in bullet points, I'm going to talk to them in bullet points. And, if I'm talking to somebody who needs every detail in the entire world in order to make a decision, I'm going to come prepared with all of those details. So it is very much, and I would say for anyone who wants to be in a leadership role, you have to adapt your style. That's not being inauthentic. That's a strategy for getting what you want and need. So I think there's a difference.
Yes, I agree. I love that. And it's like it's only helping you get to your end line, and actually probably just finding a happy medium between the two.
Right. There's a great book. It's called Crucial Conversations. I don't know if you've ever read it, but there's a lot of takeaways from that book that I try to incorporate into difficult conversations, and not just with men, with women too, because sometimes women can even be harder to deal with. I've seen that too. I've seen both, you know.
Yeah.
So really, I don't know if it totally depends on gender all the time. I do happen to work in a more male dominated industry in terms of my clients, but I've definitely dealt with difficult men and difficult women in my career for sure.
Absolutely, same. So, can you take us back to when you first got into tech and when maybe there wasn't a lot of women that were in that industry? Can you talk
Mhm.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think an example I think I brought up before was like one of my early clients was the United States Air Force Reserve. This is shortly after 9/11. And they got a surplus of money from the government to invest in technology and into recruitment. So we had to do a recruitment website for them or improve the recruitment website they had. And my agency that I worked for at the time, we went down there to present. I was doing the presentation, and it was literally, I think, 10 men on either side, like men in uniform, and very intimidating. I was in my young 20s. I rehearsed my presentation like 20 times. I came very prepared to meet. I was very nervous. And at the last minute, somebody walked into the room. They all stood up and saluted. And it was a woman. It was a female lieutenant. She was the senior officer in the room. And she looked at me, and I think she gave me like a wink, like kind of like a "you got this, girl" kind of wink. And it gave me so much confidence in that moment. And like even to this day, like I think of that moment when I'm in a room full of people, just like I can do this, right? And it was just like a moment. I mean, I guess it came from somebody who unintentionally gave me confidence just with a simple wink.
Yeah, I love that. And then that's also like a good reminder, like women supporting women or even just your coworkers, like how much confidence just that little wink gave you.
Right. Yep. And I think of that moment, like if I'm nervous in a meeting and like kind of give myself the wink, like I can do
Yeah.
that.
I love that. I love that because I do the same thing for like if I'm doing a hard physical challenge or something, like say I'm doing a hike and it's hard. I remember when I got to the top of another mountain and like I picked up a rock and I had taken it home with me, but just how good it felt. And then I think that those confidence from times before can help instill confidence in our current challenges.
100%. And that's why as we get older, you layer so many more of those on top of each other. So you have a lot more of those moments to look back to and you'd be like, I got through that, so I can totally do that. This is
Yeah,
nothing compared to that.
so
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
So I know that you talk to women about how to get back in the workforce after they take a break. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, sure. So, at one point, I had taken a break from my career when my children were young, for, just for childcare to raise them. And I got divorced. I didn't kind of see it coming. It was kind of the rug was ripped out from underneath me. And my husband at the time, obviously was a breadwinner because I was taking care of the kids. I had been out of the workforce for about 7 years, and I had to get back into it, right? So I was in technology. I came out, and 7 years in technology feels like a lifetime. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I needed, I had child support, of course, but that's not enough to like support yourself, right? That's like to help support your children. So I had to get back into the workforce, and, it was a confidence building for myself. For like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm like out of date. I had to like reach out to my old contacts. I started freelancing to get back into it, and that was, yeah, but it wasn't making enough money. But the freelancing eventually led to a full time gig to get back into technology. So, that time of my life was honestly terrifying, right? Like being scared that I wasn't able to support myself or my children, thinking I was gonna like lose my house. Um, And then again, it's a moment that you look back to now and be like, I did that, right? 7 years career gap is not nothing to overcome. And now, I think 12 plus years later, I'm a leader in a technology organization. I mentor and coach a team of project managers. I'm, managing multi-million dollars worth of projects. I'm talking to CFOs, CTOs, SVPs of large manufacturing companies that do things I don't even know anything about. And, and I do that every day. And I think that change in my life is something that I've reflected on recently. And I've just had this like desire to give back to women who may find themselves in a similar situation. It doesn't necessarily mean divorce, but like maybe your partner got laid off, maybe your partner died. I have a few friends who their partner like, got into a horrible car accident, hadn't worked in like 10 years. Maybe you are just your kids are, older now and you want to get back and do something more fulfilling, get back into and it's overwhelming, right? Like you feel like you're out of date. You don't know where to start. I can't even look for a job. So I want to tell any woman out there who is trying to restart their career or change their career, you absolutely can do it. You just need to be focused 100% on what you want and then come up with a plan to get it.
What is it that you think either holds women back or intimidates them about getting back into it?
I think part of it is confidence, right? It's like and that's normal, right? If you haven't done something in a long time, like you might, like if you haven't skied or in, 10 years, it's like, it feels, you're nervous to get back on skis, right? If you haven't like been in an office in 10 years, in an office environment, you feel like people are going to look at you funny, like, you don't know what to do. Like things had changed when I got back, right? Like things were different. I had to, really literally fake it till I made it. I faked it. I didn't know what that meant or what they were doing or what that acronym stands for. So I really had to, you know, kind of fake it till I make it. And that's okay. That everybody does that. The longer I've worked and the more people I meet, there are so many people that I'm like, wow, I really thought they knew what they were doing, but it's very clear that they do not. So I think it's just like having the confidence to get out of your comfort zone and um, to achieve your goals, that's how you're gonna get there. And I want people to know that it's okay if you don't know everything. You can figure it out.
Yes, and I think it's so interesting when you start to recognize like, "Oh, yeah, other people don't know what they're doing, they're just figuring it out as they go." Um,
Mhm.
and it's a good reminder, like, when we make mistakes in our head, we tend to amplify it, but when other people make mistakes, we forget it in 2 seconds.
Clear for that. Oh my God, so much. And it kind of reminds me like AI right now, like AI, in my technology industry, AI is taking over everything. All of my clients, like even my concrete client, like we need AI, which we'll be doing with AI, right? And um, you know, we all have to just be like, we'll tell you how to spend all your money on investing in AI. Like, we're not really experts yet either because nobody is, and we're figuring out as we go. And it's actually we're doing pretty good jobs. Like I've already worked on a few AI projects for my clients. And it's actually pretty amazing. But I didn't know how to do that 2 years ago, and now suddenly I'm an AI expert. They have, you know what I mean?
So, what would you say to somebody that's maybe younger generation and they're stepping into a new role?
I would say if you're stepping into a new role, um, and you want to be successful at it, be very clear on why you're stepping into that role and what you want to get out of it. And once you have that clarity, you can achieve goals much easier. I think if you're just getting into a role just because it was offered to you, you won't be as successful as if you're like, this is a role that I want, and I want to do this role because I want to learn how to do these things, and I want to lead people, and I want to do this. So I think that goal setting and knowing why you're doing something, and sometimes it might be as simple as I need a paycheck. I need health insurance. That's okay too, right? Because if that's your goal to pay your bills, like that's a lot of people's goal, right? Not everybody is like, my goal is to be the best. And, you don't have to be the best at everything you do. Sometimes, and in the beginning, when I went back to work after my divorce, that was my goal. I'm like, I need health insurance. I need to start saving for retirement. I need to make sure my home is paid for. Like, that was my goal. I achieved that goal. And then once I achieved that goal, I was then able to get into another place. I'm like, now I want to be in a place where I want to lead. And I really want to show other people how to do this.
And I think that's important to remember. It's like We don't have to know the whole big picture, or maybe we do have a goal, but we just like one step at a time. The
Mhm.
first step is getting your foot in the door, getting a job, and then what do you want to do from there?
Right.
Take some of the pressure off having one step at a time as opposed to having to take the whole thing at once?
Right, exactly. And not everybody wants to, like rule the world or build their, build an online enterprise. Many people, their goal literally is just to make enough money to live comfortably and to have a job that is, fulfilling in some way. And that's enough too. I don't think you have to have, these crazy outlandish goals. Like simple goals are good too.
Absolutely. So let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want.
Okay. So I think for women who want to grow in their current career, what you need to do, number one, is if you have company politics, beware of that. That's going to be something that will come at you from the side. So like you're trying to go for this goal and someone else is going to come in there trying to go for the same goal. And then you get caught up in a competition, right? So I would say avoid that like the plague. If there's toxicity or people competing that is preventing you, go somewhere else. That would be one tip. You do not have to stay at a company if you're not happy there. Find another job. Get out of toxic. I know a lot of people who hate their jobs. I'm like, well, then why the heck are you working there? This is a free country. Go somewhere else. So I would highly recommend going somewhere where you're set up for success. And then, once you're in that place, you'll know it. You'll find your people and there will be a path for you there to achieve your goals because you'll have leadership that is on your side, you'll have coworkers that are on your side. And when you're looking to achieve your goals with a team around you that supports that, you're going to be a lot more likely to succeed.
So good. And Lisa, how can we connect with you?
You can find me well, my website is currently down, but it should be back up in a week at www.smoms.net. Small technical issue, but that's okay. And then, otherwise you can find me on Instagram at real_smoms.
Thank you so much, Lisa. You've been a total badass and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you, Maria. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it. So before we wrap up, I got to tell you this story because you know what? It sums up exactly how I want women in this community to thrive through their careers, to move through their careers. A long time ago, I went to see Three Dog Night in concert. Yes, full nostalgia mode. And you know what? My friends at the time, their uncle was in the band. So guess who got VIP access? This one, I felt so cool. Backstage, zero lines, best view in the venue. Got to meet the band. It was so cool. Even if they were before my time. And you know what? Standing there behind the stage, watching everyone else take so long to get in. They had to wait in these long lines. And you know what? Thinking back on, it's like, it reminds me, this is what so many women at work never get. Access, information, positioning, the playbook. Here's how the game is really played, kind of guidance. But here's the truth. You deserve VIP in your career. You deserve the tools, strategies, and confidence that let you walk into any room like you belong there. Because you know what? You do. Which is exactly why I created my course. How to get the promotion you deserve and thrive as a leader. It's kind of like the VIP wristband that nobody ever handed me. So now I want to hand it over to you. I want to give you the good stuff. So if you're listening to this thinking, I want VIP access too, then here's your next step. Head on over to Instagram and DM me the word waitlist. One word, two words, I don't care. I got you. That's it. Waitlist. And you know what? If you're on the wait list for the course, you're going to get early access to the course. That's what you get. You get 1 day early access before the deals go to anybody else. You get 25% off, which nobody else will get. And then you'll also get a special bonus just for you for signing up early. So I want to see you there. Get on the wait list. Just hit me up on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass and just send me the word waitlist. And I'll send you the link and you get early access before anyone else does. And you know what? I think if you're here, you're listening to this podcast, you deserve to be in the VIP section. Simple as that. I want to help you upgrade your work life. We all deserve an upgrade. Okay, now let's get to the pop culture punchline. So today's episode, it reminded me of that moment in The Devil Wears Prada where Andy Sachs realizes she's so much more capable than she ever gave herself credit for. And you know what? Suddenly, she starts showing up and running the show with quiet confidence. That's Lisa. That's you. Quiet power. Strategic moves. Owning rooms that weren't built with you in mind, and you're doing it anyway. Until next time, keep showing up, keep speaking up, and never ever shrink for a seat at the table because you were born to build it. With that, I'm out. I'll hit you up next week.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.